This is a great one. And first thing that immediately springs to mind is when I was teaching people craniosacral in Australia, and I'd set up the Australian Institute of Craniosacral Therapy, and I'd got an accreditation consultant to come in and help me, get the course accredited as a diploma. And this person, as well as knowing that accreditation procedure in great detail, they'd also spent a long time in teaching and the mechanics of teaching. And in the course of going through the process, I was saying to him, there's this part that they just don't seem to get, the students just don't seem to get. He said, well, tell me how it goes. And I explained how the teaching process went as I was doing it at the time. And he said, you're not letting them learn. I said, what? I am the teacher, of course I'm letting them learn, He said, no, you're not, you're getting in the way. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if you were teaching them mathematics and you wanted to teach them 2 and 2 is 4, what you're doing is going, what is 2 and 2? And then when nobody answers, you go, the answer is 4. And he said, nobody learns when you do that. He said, and you're doing that because you don't like the uncomfortable feeling of them not knowing the answer. And he was so right. Now, the things I was teaching were a lot more complicated than, what's 2 and 2. But I can remember the first time I did it, how uncomfortable it was. I sort of asked a question, and nobody knew the answer. Everybody was like, there was this very uncomfortable energy in the class, and there was almost a palpable feeling of, just tell us the answer. And I wanted to tell them the answer. I wanted to, let me just tell you, let me just put everybody out of their misery and tell them the answer. But I really respected this man, so I didn't. I just stayed with it and stayed with it. And eventually, when I say eventually, it's not like it took 4 weeks. It took 5 minutes, but 5 very uncomfortable minutes. They got it. And I could tell that in them getting it, they learned, and they would not forget it because they had arrived at it themselves. And it was a real lesson for me I thought I was being helpful. I thought I was being a great teacher. I was like, well, what's 2 and 2? Nobody knows. It's 4. And thinking, oh, great, now I've just imparted a bit of knowledge, without realizing that's not how it works. And having to sit with that awful feeling while they struggled. And we have, it's kind of, that's one of the things this thing is saying, is like people pleasing is doing that. It's not waiting for people to get it themselves, which is so difficult, to sit with somebody and let them struggle through it until they get it for themselves. It's so hard.